I'm tracking another round of freezing rain for your Tuesday, but also the possibility for a pretty powerful storm system by the end of the week. Let's take a look. First things first, for the freezing rain, we do have winter weather advisories in effect throughout the day on Tuesday for that possibility. And here, this is right through the middle part of the state again, but I don't want people to think that this is going to be like what we saw last week in Big Rapids and Clare, or like the ice storm that we saw in northern Michigan earlier, last season. This is just expected to be a glaze. Everyone can expect about a tenth of an inch or less. So yeah, it could cause some slick conditions out there, but really shouldn't be as big of a deal as what we've seen before. All right, so here's what we can expect. This is actually starting at midnight overnight between Monday and Tuesday, and you can already see this little bit of freezing rain back over to the west of Wisconsin. This is going to move pretty much due east into southern parts of northern lower Michigan, mid-Michigan, central Michigan, and that is where we can see our glaze. Notice that also lines up with those winter weather advisories that I just showed you. So again, this is at midnight, little clock right at the top of the screen there, 1 o'clock in the morning, 2 o'clock in the morning, and by the time we get toward, let's stop at 6 o'clock. That's when the pink is indicating that freezing rain. Notice that's pretty much right across the same areas that saw it last time, maybe just a little bit further off to the north, but that could include Houghton Lake over by Cadillac, down into Clare, maybe a little bit into Mount Pleasant as well. By 8 o'clock in the morning, we're starting to see rain come down along I-96 from Grand Rapids to Lansing, and more of that freezing rain still ongoing for, again, southern parts of northern lower and central mid-Michigan. The storm system starts to really crank up by the time we get toward about 10 and 11 o'clock in the morning. We are going to see some pretty heavy rainfall come down, so expect to see some standing water, maybe some rise on those rivers and streams, because there's not a lot of places for the water to go when the ground starts to freeze up, so you will notice some standing water here and there. So be extra careful, don't hydroplane, things like that. By about 1 o'clock in the afternoon, you can see that we are transitioning over to a little bit of snow now instead of freezing rain for northern lower, as well as central Michigan, right through the middle part of the state, while we still have rain ongoing to the south. That transition continues over into the evening by about 6 o'clock here. So Flint, the Tri-Cities, the Thumb over by Oscoda could see a little bit of rain come down as well. That'll turn into some snow. And then pretty much the whole system starts to exit later on into the evening. One final little burst comes on through overnight. This is 3 o'clock in the morning. And then as we head into your Wednesday, things will be much quieter for us. So here's the possibility for some ice accumulation that we could see from that freezing rain. And notice again, it's not too much, maybe a little bit right through Houghton Lake and West Branch there, could top a tenth of an inch by just slightly, but it shouldn't be that big of a deal. Again, just about everyone's going to expect a tenth of an inch or less. Now, in terms of snowfall, we're also not expecting a ton with that either. This is going to be a slushy, sloppy mess out there, and there will be some melting going on with this. So notice some areas might see about an inch in the blue, and that would be from Mount Pleasant over through, perhaps Midland, Bay City, probably just north of there, so maybe like Pinconning, Augrey, areas like that. Gladwin, the tip of the thumb, might see about 1 inch or so. Everyone else is just going to see a little bit mixing in here and there. Now, like I said though, rainfall, that's going to be an interesting one. Here's a look at total precip regardless of what type it is. Notice there's a very sharp cutoff between Gaylord and Grayling where the dry air makes it into the north, but I'm pointing out rainfall totals here because from anywhere from, let's say, Muskegon to Grand Rapids, over by Lansing, St. John's, even Owasso, Flint, Lapeer County, we could see over half of an inch of water from the rain come on down, and at times it could come down pretty quick. So therefore, like I said, some standing water is possible. You combine that with a little bit of snow melt going on, and we could have definitely some standing water, maybe even some rivers that become bank full for a little bit. I know we had that a little bit on the Red Cedar River in Lansing a few days ago, so it's not out of the question for that to happen again. Not anticipating any major flooding issues, but there will be a lot of standing water, and well, unfortunately, it might freeze in place before it has time to evaporate. So I'll make another video that's going to talk more about the system at the end of the week, just so that one video is not too long with too much information. So be on the lookout for that a little bit later on. Also, I do want to point out thank you to my new sponsor, which is the Neumann Law Group. They have offices in Traverse City, Grand Rapids, Detroit, personal injury lawyers. They have a great track record, and I'm very, very excited to have them on board. So be sure to seek them out if you need any legal advice or counsel. Their details will always be in the comment section of my post that includes their sponsorship.